I was troubled by it. You know, I was disappointed that she didn't get the support that she needed. I thought Kim had the right intentions. She's a good and honorable person, and I did not want to see her leave the circuit attorney's office. Kim is the circuit attorney, so heavy is the head that wears the crown. But there was an intentional attack on her from the very beginning, initially when she went after Governor Greitens. And there's always an attack on black women in power. So racism and sexism has not gone away, and it will continue to exist. And we have to stop being surprised about it and be ready to defend our people when they get in office and be able to support them, not just sit around and complain about the job they're doing, but actually get up and do some work and get behind them. Kim was prosecuting cases, and you know she was prosecuting cases. The office works on a regular basis. The quo warranto was never going to stick. The quo warranto that the Attorney General brought is an action that you bring when somebody is totally derelict in their duty. And they did not have the evidence to meet the burden for quo warranto. So then they started on a fishing expedition, which is what lawyers do. You know, when we don't have enough evidence to make the exact case that we want to make, then we start deposing people and doing a fishing expedition to try to get more information so that we can take other routes. And that's what they did. They began to attack Kim on all fronts. And then they began to attack her internally by scaring the individuals that work in her office. And then you know the office can only run with a certain amount of employees. And when you start scaring the lawyers into staying in the office and making them leave, then you know that you can cripple them from the inside. So they use several ways of attack to go after this black woman. Ultimately, everything is Kim's responsibility because she's the circuit attorney. Now, you have a chief trial assistant, you have a first assistant, you have team leaders, you have other layers, but always the bottom line is that the circuit attorney is going to be responsible because it's their office. What some of those attorneys did, like Natalia, the young lady who left the office knowing that she had a trial on Monday, that was just unethical. But we later learned that she's an unethical person. She later filed a fake police report saying that a group of black men were trying to sexually assault her. So you know what her character is from the beginning when you find this out later. Now you have to understand this. White people have always been in control of the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor's office is the most powerful office in the system because they have the power to take your liberty. That's always the power that has been used against us as black people, the power to take our liberty. You know, it's against the law to teach you how to read. It's against the law if you leave the plantation, where your papers at. It's against the law to be free. You know, the law has always been used as a way to keep us under control, and being a prosecutor is a way to keep people under control. You have the power to take individuals' liberty. When that situation came up with Governor Greitens, no one could have predicted that. That's the problem with being the prosecutor. Nobody can predict human nature. Nobody would have known George Peach, when he was a prosecutor, would have been soliciting prostitution. When DeJoyce Hayes was the prosecutor and her son was involved in drug sales in St. Louis County, you couldn't have predicted that. All the police shootings that occurred under Jennifer Joyce. Bob McCullough wishes that Michael Brown had not been killed in his jurisdiction. He'd still be the prosecutor had not it been for that. So you never know what human nature is going to be in your jurisdiction. And early, less than 6 months into Kim's tenure as circuit attorney, no one could have predicted that the governor would have a woman tied up in the basement and using the pictures against her for blackmail. Even though it was his mistress and that's the way they did things, it became highlighted on the front page of the Post-Dispatch. Kim had just won election, ran on a platform of holding everybody accountable, so she can't act as if she did not know that this situation was going on. And I'm going to add one more point to that. I was a sex crimes prosecutor. Prosecuting sex crimes is a little different than any other crime that you prosecute, because generally when you prosecute sex crimes, there are not a lot of witnesses. It's usually just the victim and the perpetrator. And a lot of your decision making when you decide to move forward as a prosecutor on a sex crimes case is one, based on whatever DNA evidence may be available, and also your interaction with the victim. Many times when I talk to the victims in these cases, I was moved to move forward on the cases, even if I thought some of the evidence, if I didn't have any physical evidence, but I really believed in the statements and the testimony that the victims were relaying to me. And so I never talked to the victim in the Greitens case, and that's why I always gave Kim the benefit of the doubt, because she did talk to the victim. And I don't know if the conversation between her and the victim really moved her to move forward with the case. But what we do know is this: when it was all said and done, when Greitens was going through his divorce and they deposed his ex-wife, she said in deposition that he admitted to her that everything that Kim was prosecuting him for, he admitted to her that he had done. So she did the right thing, but he was the darling of the Republican Party, perceived to potentially be president of the United States, and she took him down, and they were relentless against her for that. You know, that's the biggest thing and the biggest problem that the Republican establishment had with Kim, is that she was bold enough to stand up and take these positions. And then we have this situation now where the Attorney General, he's not an elected Attorney General, he's an appointed Attorney General. He was appointed to that position after Eric Schmidt won the Senate seat. So he's trying to win an election on her back. And that's not unusual. I mean, they do that all the time. That's the Republican playbook all across the country. Whether we talk about taking over the school district in Houston, Texas, trying to take over the police department and prosecutors in Jackson, Mississippi, the police department and the prosecutor's office in St. Louis. As a matter of fact, you know, the main reason that Kim turned in her resignation is because they agreed to drop the legislation that they were seeking to pass in Jefferson City to take over the prosecutor's office, which was going to have long-term effects on the citizens of the city of St. Louis and our community. It was going to take away our voice to elect our own prosecutor. So Kim decided that it would be better for the community that she resigned than allow that to happen in Jefferson City, where they have a supermajority. Well, we got to keep moving forward. We can't move forward looking in the rearview mirror, and we thank Kim for her service, and what Kim has done has definitely changed the circuit attorney's office and raised our awareness. But now we have to move forward, and I'm supporting either Judge Paula Bryant or Marvin Tier to be the next circuit attorney, because we have to have a circuit attorney that comes in that office that hits the ground running. We have to have a circuit attorney that is not learning on the job, that already knows the job. We have to have a circuit attorney that is experienced in doing trials like the both of them are, and is ready to go to work on day one, that if necessary can walk down to that courtroom and try the case themselves. So that's where we need to be moving, and we need a black circuit attorney. You know, you don't take out our sister and then think you're going to replace her with a Caucasian. Our sister is coming out, and the governor needs to listen and put another black person in that office, because that's what we wanted. We overwhelmingly voted for Kim twice. She won in 2 elections. So we know what's needed. But what we really need to understand as a community is this: we have a personal responsibility to make our community safe and decent places to live. It's not up to the police. It's not up to the prosecutor's office. It's up to us. We have to manage our children. These young children that are running around here unsupervised, that are breaking into vehicles down at the Armory and other places, these people that are walking around shooting people, these parents that know that their children have automatic weapons, we have to get involved and engaged in our community. We have to set a standard of excellence in our community ourselves. We cannot depend on anybody else to come in. Nobody is going to save us. Ultimately, it is going to be on us, and it is our responsibility. And we have to take on that responsibility. And our leadership has to take on that responsibility too. We have overwhelming majority black leadership in the city of St. Louis, and they're sitting on their hands, from the lawyers to the clergy to the elected officials to the organizations. Nobody is challenging our community to be better, and we can be better. And this weather is breaking, and we have to get on top of it now. We saw all the shooting that happened on Cherokee Street last weekend. That didn't have nothing to do with Kim. They didn't have nothing to do with the police. They had to do with us, and we got to get on top of that.